It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Ace man, got a rich man, poor man for you. One word. Incest. Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Frank Grillo in studio. Lights Out, name of his action-packed movie, available on VOD and in theaters. Yeah, the mansion tax.
Mansion tax.
That's so...
Mansion tax. It's not a mansion.
I know. Well, everything is euphemistically described so that it's like essentially, let's not call illegals illegals. Let's call them dreamers. And let's not say Frank Grillo lives in a house he bought. Let's call it a mansion. Yeah. And then it'll be much easier to do what we want.
Right.
Once we've labeled it.
How
something.
dare you have a mansion, right? The other day I walked into Starbucks. I had my buddy sent me this cool T-shirt with a kind of a American flag on it. I ordered my tea, and the girl's looking at me strange, and you know, I'm a white guy, I guess, right? And she's looking at me strange, and I go, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "Nice shirt," like that. Right. She maybe was 20,
had a flag on it,
right? And I go, "Oh, you don't like the American flag?" And she just went, "Pfft."
No way.
No,
I was confused. Like I actually was confused, and I was like, did I miss something, right? Because I don't leave my house very much. So I go home, and I was talking to my son. We weren't on mushrooms. And and I was telling him the story. He goes, yeah, no, she thinks you're a radical right-wing, fascist. I'm like, wait, what? And you know this? Do you know this? Like, wearing an American flag? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like that? First of all, you work for Starbucks. You're 20. I'm an adult man. Like,
by the way, if you had a Palestinian flag on your T-shirt, you would have got a free egg bite with your tea.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Crazy.
It's amazing. And to me, it's all part of the same thing. My mansion tax and this young lady who it's all become so, and I don't know if it's because I'm aging out of life. I don't know, but I'm like, nothing is making sense to me anymore.
Well, I have this conversation with, and maybe we should start a podcast called Aging Out with Frank Grillo and Carolla. And every day we're like, what the fuck is going on?
By the way, that is my mantra. What the fuck is going on?
So I have these conversations with Dr. Drew, who's also aging out as well. And so you have to do it like, okay, I would say it applies to music as well. Like where you go, what is this shit? Like, what is this chick talking about her fart tank or something? Right. You know what I mean? And why is this thing? It sounds like shit to me. And then you go, okay, old man, you don't know. And I go, well, it's true I'm old, but it can also be true that this song is shit. Right. And so it's like, you start talking about hard work and motivation and, intestinal fortitude. And they go, okay, old man, and you're like, okay, I am old, but I still say diet and exercise. And that works. Like I'm still talking about shit that works. Let's forget my driver's license and what it says for a second.
Right. And
I'm telling you,
I don't live in a cabin in the mountains in Tennessee. Like I may be old, but I'm way cooler than you. Like, like you're a 20-year-old girl in Starbucks. I'm way cooler than you, and it's like that's the other thing. I guess the hatred for the United States of America that I've been encountering by a certain generation of human beings is appalling.
I agree.
It's appalling to me.
And it has to make them miserable. That's the other part. Like if you think the climate is going to change to such a degree that we're all going to be gone in 10 years, why wouldn't you be miserable? I would be miserable. I would be miserable if I thought, if I believed all the things they believe about the United States, I would walk around with a pretty low to medium grade depression all day, every day, because you're living in a horrible, oppressive, racist regime,
The worst.
The worst. And you're living here. And good news is it'll all be done in 11 years, according to Al Gore. We'll be able to celebrate. All right, what do we got for some news, Chris?
So you guys are talking about UFC. Well, Dana White was in the news. So he was on Howie Mandel's podcast, and it was very confusing. So I'll just play. This is the first minute of the podcast.
Dana White, you are an amazing guy. I can't thank you enough for being here. You and Ginger seem to be getting along. You are not only an amazing businessman, you are an inspiration, you are a philosopher. The way you do business, the way you conduct your business and your friendships and media is, I'm jealous. But Dana, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate it. I am so fucking tired of doing podcasts. I'm literally done with them. I'm not doing any more podcasts.
He gets up and leaves.
And then he just leaves, and Howie and his daughter are just looking on. Ginger, by the way, is a YouTube comedian. and just walks out.
I did Howie's podcast, and his daughter got up and
Somebody
left.
has to leave on the show at the time.
Why?
She wanted to know my thoughts on COVID, and I told her I didn't give a shit. And then she wanted to know like where my mask was, and I was like, I don't wear a mask. And then she was like, what about me? I'm compromised or something. And I was like, I don't know. You deal with it, you know.
Was
and
she
then
sitting two inches away from you?
No, she was sitting 12 feet away from me. And then she said, how do you feel right now or something? And I said, I had a cold like 3 days ago, and she just got up and left.
Oh my God!
I know.
I love Dana.
Actually, it happened
I know
twice,
Dana.
I think.
I
Yeah.
know Dana well. I know Dana, and he's an amazing human being.
I love
Yeah.
Dana too.
And by the way,
we gotta get him on the pod.
I know. I don't think he'll come on anymore.
Says what he thinks and thinks what he says, man. It's that's why people are so.
But
refreshing.
Something happened. There was something
Something.
else. Something was in his eyes. Somebody said something to him. I think that would be my call.
It's very confusing because Howie was very complimentary.
Almost
for
too complimentary.
Almost too complimentary for the first 25 seconds.
I will say that his daughter is very aggressive with sort of COVID stuff, at least in my experience of getting her to leave.
Wait, that's his daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she left 2 times. One time she cried.
Yeah.
I did the show 2 times. One time her daughter cried, and then the next time she left.
Yeah.
Is she okay mentally? Is that why maybe he has her on the show? Because
My whole thing is we're circling back to our original conversation. Why be so delicately wired that douchebag Adam Carolla could come in there and destroy your day by just saying, I don't care about COVID?
over COVID? I mean, are we still talking about COVID?
She was. This wasn't that long ago.
Okay.
I mean, it was a few months ago.
Yeah, but still, haven't we realized it was all a bunch of
Not her.
nonsense?
Not her. She's steeped in it. Now, so here's the thing. She may have triggered, or somebody may have triggered. Like I was with Howie 2 days ago, and we were doing Byron Allen's show, and I was in my trailer, and they came in to do the COVID test, and I was like, "Are you fucking people still doing this shit?"
They are?
That's what I said. Like, what are we? You're still doing the thing, right?
Nasal swab. Wow.
Yep. Nasal. By the way, 15 times around because 13 it wouldn't be effective. At 16 would be gilding the lily.
Magic number.
By the way, I took the swab. I'm like, bitch, I'm not counting. I'll just do it until you look down, and then I'll hand it back to you on the 5th. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi,
God.
4. So each nostril 15 times. I did one 6 times and one 4.5 times. Or whatever. It's like, I go, what the fuck are you guys doing? You're just gonna just keep doing? She's wearing a mask. She's doing the nasal swab. I'm like, what are we doing? And she's like, we have to do it until we go 1 month with no positive. And I'm like, oh, this is great. So this is a goal that's not achievable because somebody's going to be infected somewhere in this month. Mathematically, it's just not.
It'll
You can't be done.
constantly reset,
Now, the person who's infected will be fucking fine and won't even know they're infected.
my
But
kids just had it.
That's beside the point. But no, we're going to keep doing it until whatever the fuck. But I
bet you.
I was with Howie. I was talking to Howie the whole day. Somebody did something COVID-y
You think that's
with Dana.
I bet you
Dana
that's it.
sat down.
I bet you that's it.
And he was half cocked.
But if it's Howie's show, you would understand, right? I mean, I think if Howie's the guy running the show, oh, this makes sense because he's crazy about this.
Dana wasn't caustic or aggressive. He was just like, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but Dana, I I saw Howie 2 days ago, a few days ago. I was at his studio. That motherfucker. I said to Howie 2 days ago, I go, you fucker, I told you to buy a warehouse. Who told you to buy a warehouse 10 years ago?
And he
goes, you did. I go, how much fucking money is that fucking warehouse worth now? And he goes, 5 times as much as what you paid for it.
Really?
He goes, I tell everyone every day, you're the one who said, get a fucking warehouse. He's got 3 warehouses, thousands of square feet. It's a beehive of activity. I'm like, the warehouse is the best. He goes, when my wife, we argue over like furniture or whatever, put it in the warehouse. Like it just becomes, it'll save a relationship. It becomes a catch-all.
Wait, should I be buying a warehouse?
Every celebrity should have a fucking warehouse. And everyone goes, oh, I don't restore cars. I don't have it doesn't matter. You'll have 1,000 arguments with your old lady about, I don't like that credenza or whatever. I paid $700 for that. Put it in the warehouse. Just goes to the warehouse. Becomes a catch-all for everything you don't want in the house.
Right.
Any project, any car, anything you're working on. Oh, the big neon sign. I'm going to rebuild it. You said that 2 years ago. It's taking up a space in the warehouse. To the warehouse. To the warehouse. It solves every argument. It always starts turning into a business. He's got his podcast studios. I went and did Sage Steele's podcast, got that. But as you're walking through it, you're seeing offices and people. He set up his whole production there. But I told that fucker 3 days ago, I was like, you better fucking thank me. And he goes, I thank you 100%. And, houses, residential real estate, it goes up, but it ticks down. It's sort of up and down. Kind of depends on the market and interest rates and stuff. Not the warehouses. He paid God knows what for that, and it's worth 5 times as much today. And he keeps expanding.
Can I ask a question? If he sells the warehouse, is there a mansion tax?
No, I don't. It's not. And really, what you don't do is you can't sell it and take the profit because then they tax the shit out of the profit. You have to roll it over into a bigger warehouse, essentially. But that's him as warehouse. But Dana White doesn't live out here. So he flew in or came in. And Howie's warehouse is right by the Van Nuys Airport. So I think people fly in to the Van Nuys Airport and literally go across the street. But he did all the calorie burning part. And then he got up and left.
Because he was just human nature. He was in himself thinking about something transpired. And he was like, I'm not fucking doing
Was he
this.
seething during that whole...
Yes, he was seething.
Yeah.
He was seething.
But he was cool.
There's a conspiracy theory that it was a publicity stunt, too.
For him or for Howie?
For Howie. Obviously, to check out the show. And
I'll tell you what happens. I'll tell you what it is. This is how the male mind works. And females, but male. Okay, so you, Frank, me, Adam, there's been break-ins in the neighborhood.
Right.
Let's say it's been crime, stuff. And then you hear the story about the house next door, and it's like, how'd they get into the house? They went in through the garage. The garage door was open, and then they went in through the side door, and that's how they got into the house and ransacked the place, right? And then you talk to your woman, and you go, we got to keep that garage door closed. And they go, yeah, we do. And you go, somebody just broke in and went through an open garage. As a matter of fact, they'll drive around the neighborhood and look for an open garage, and then they'll go in. And you go, yeah. And then 2 days later, you come home, and the garage door's open, and they're just in the kitchen, And then you go, hey, sweetie, remember, got to keep that garage door closed. And then they tell you some reason. I was in the garage and then I had to go out of the garage. And you go, yeah, I know. Understood. I understand how a door works. But then when you're done, once you leave and then you come back, then we shut the garage door, right? And they go, oh, yeah, because I was in the garage and then the car was outside. Yeah, I understand doors. I'm not accusing you of not knowing what a door is. But I'm saying then we close the door. Because remember, in the neighborhood, has people breaking in. And then they go, okay. And then 3 days later, you come home, garage doors open again, and you're sitting down at dinner, and they're putting the plate in front of you, and you're sitting there eating, you're not talking much, and then at some point, they're like, hey, did you see the Taylor Swift? And you go, you fucking skank. What don't you understand? What don't you understand? And then they go, what are you talking about? What's wrong with your steak? Guys, fucking steak sucks. That's what it sucks. Fucking I'm eating in my office. I'm eating in my office. Because it's brewing.
Right.
It's brewing.
Right.
It came to a boil.
Dana seemed like he was brewing, in there. That's what
I
happened.
think it was the woman's fault.
Oh.
The daughter.
The daughter.
Well, I said she's very on top of COVID.
Yeah.
And I think Dana's got a very aggressive stance against COVID.
Yeah.
And she could have asked if he tested.
And she
or
kind of looked, maybe she just has a resting bitch face, but she looked a bit like, see her?
Well,
that's when he left.
Again, you're talking to a guy who got her to physically leave.
Right.
And then got her to cry.
She looks
I've been on 2 times. She's cried and laughed.
She looks angry about something.
One more, you
and
got the
she's
hat
on
trick.
on her phone.
It's funny that Howie's daughter's getting up and leaving when in the middle of my podcast, and he doesn't say anything. She just gets up and walks out. Yeah, so
This is why I don't work with my kids.
cannot work with your kids. All right, so maybe there's some precedent there.
We'll see.
I don't know.
We will see. All right, so there's this high school in Michigan, and so the cheerleaders are asked to wear their uniforms on game day. But so they do, but now they are saying that they have to wear pants under the uniforms at school because the boys are getting too distracted.
Oh,
So they're
short skirts.
Yeah, so they're complaining about that because they're like, well, we wear it at the games regular, and those are school-sanctioned events. Why do we have to wear pants?
I think it's something about sitting at the desk. I could see that being a thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Well, but they're not just short. It's not like a skirt and then you see the thing.
Right.
Those skirts have like built-in. They're like there's a.
Yeah, because they're doing flips and stuff.
Yeah,
so
you
they're
can't
not-
see anything.
at the games. Yeah.
I don't.
Well, so
I don't know.
I used to love when the cheerleaders wore their.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
me too.
Me too. Yeah, maybe they were too distracting then. So they're complaining. They're like, look, we can't even go out in our sports bras, but the guys working out, they can go shirtless, doing laps. They're playing soccer and things like that. So they think it's a double standard. They're complaining. They're going to the school board. The parents of the cheerleaders are complaining too. They don't think it's fair that they have to wear pants.
Yeah, I agree, but I also like sort of old-timey arguments. You know, this is like in a world of school shootings and open borders and what are the Chinese up to? I like these kind of arguments.
Yeah, if these were the only arguments
It's
that
nice.
we had,
It's refreshing.
it would be
Yeah.
great. It would be like Rockwellian. It would be like this is what we should be talking about here.
Let's get the ruler out, measure the skirt to the knee distance.
Right.
Make sure it's appropriate.
Yeah, our school, I remember, I haven't had this thought ever, but we were not compelled to, but sort of it was understood that the guys on the football team wore their jerseys on home game Fridays. I never did that, and I don't know why. I wasn't being a nonconformist. I was like, everyone knows I'm on this team,
Right.
And I don't need to wear my jersey in so that these people know I'm on the team.
But it wasn't about supporting the team. Is it?
I just always.
You need ayahuasca.
There's something bubbling inside of me, some pain, some yearning, some dark desire that's never been satiated.
You, my friend.
I always thought it was like a little. I don't know. I guess I had a little nonconformist in me, and I just felt like it was a little lame that we did it. I don't know why, but I never did it.
Yeah, I remember that. I wore my singlet. I wasn't supposed to, but I just like.
Oh, you're wrestling.
Just like to wear my singlet.
Oh, it's game day. Yeah.
Is that weird?
Match day.
By the way, I work out in Equinox at West Hollywood sometimes, and there are dudes who show up there in wrestling singlets.
Really?
I swear to God, there's a couple of guys that they work out in wrestling singlets, and I've complained to Equinox. I'm like, I don't want to see this.
What are they doing?
They're just working out with a big bulge with singlets.
It
Dolph
seems
Lundgren, he goes there.
Weird to me.
Who goes there?
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph goes there, and a bunch of my friends go there, and it's a really cool mix of people. And then some people just really extreme, and they wear wrestling singlets. And I wonder if they even wrestle.
Well, there's only one real way to find out. Roll up on
Gotta
him.
challenge him to a duel.
All right, what else we got?
So Rachel Dolezal, or her new name now is Nkechi Diallo, which I believe means gift from God. She had her name changed. So she took a job as an after-school instructor at a Tucson school, and she also started an OnlyFans account. And now the school found out about it, and she lost her job over the OnlyFans account, which is like a thing that's happening now. I have a conspiracy theory that all these teachers and parents get themselves or their kids kicked out of school to get the publicity because their accounts skyrocket after they get kicked out of school.
So she was a teacher?
Counselor?
Yeah,
Counselor?
after school instructor is what they.
And what's her name now?
Nkechi Diallo.
That's her legal name.
Yeah, she had her name legally changed from.
That means one who fools black people.
I mean, the OG cultural appropriator.
I know. I like that there are people out there like this, because after a steady diet of people telling me men are women and birthing people and, men can be women and women can be men and stuff like that, I go, okay, then you definitely can't draw the line at a white chick who says she's black, right? I mean, everything... If men can be women and women can be men, then everything's on the table.
She was ahead of her time. She did it in 2015, so...
Right. So now, is OnlyFans always sort of pornographic?
No, it's not, but it's always assumed. It could be anything. I mean, it could just be you just putting pictures or any sort of content. You could do a podcast on OnlyFans.
And people pay you for that.
Right, yeah, and they just subscribe to get your exclusive content. But
Are they doing stand-up specials and stuff now, or am I making
Only Brian Callen.
He did it. Wait.
They are getting into comedy. They've done comedy events, and I think they have put out or like roasts. They've done roasts.
Right. Because I'll think of who released theirs on that for a second. But anyway, all right. So she's doing.
Yeah. So she's still in the news, and she's now been fired for OnlyFans account, which is $9.99 a month.
I always feel like poor Frank dad killed himself, right?
Yeah, with booze.
Oh, so over a period of time?
One day.
One day?
Yeah, I mean, he drank like 22 bottles of vodka.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Well, I think he was afraid to do it any other way. Like he knew he was going to die if he did that. I mean, he was a chronic alcoholic.
Don't you feel like Rachel Dolezal's dad should kill himself?
And if he's dead, he should be rolling over.
Yes. Yes. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, but pragmatic. I mean, I get it. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd have the balls to jump off a Golden Gate Bridge or put a pistol to my temple.
Oh, my old man? No.
But I could drink myself to death.
Yeah, so could I. It's easy.
Yeah, it's
easy. I mean, I'm sure I almost have.
You definitely made a few moves in my day.
Yeah. And he told me, at the funeral, he goes, I'm not sticking around. Because he was sober for a minute, and he's, I'm not, I can't live without her. I'm like, live without her? All you did was curse at each other for 52 years. Right. What are you talking about? And, he's like, and that's how he went out, man. He went out on, his vodka sword.
How old was he?
71.
Wow, he was relatively young.
Yeah, I mean, relatively young. My mother was 70. Yeah, they were young, man. They didn't make it very long.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All right, sorry for bringing the show
down.
No,
I'm going to go do ayahuasca right after.
Cleanse. You got to purge it. You're not dealing with this, man.
Listen, my mother had a great sense of humor, so she gets it. Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to New York. You're talking about the migrants in New York and the Times Square gang attack and things like that. So there's a teen who was arrested for that. They released him, and then he was just now arrested again for robbery and larceny a day after he and three other suspects who still remain at large made off with about $608 worth of clothing they stole from Macy's. And they just did the robbery.
Where they walk in, this new phenomenon where they walk in, and I saw a group of women do this the other day on the news. They walk in and they steal as many purses as they can, and everybody watches them.
They film them,
and they leave.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
there's no cops. There's nothing happening. They don't get arrested. and they
Security
go.
doesn't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Like,
When I was young, I once stole a Kit Kat, and to teach me a lesson, the cop took me to jail.
Wow.
no way.
Yeah.
No.
And so I'm amazed at this. Again, I'm amazed that about the bystander apathy of it all. Nobody does anything. They just watch all these people kind of. They go
Right.
into Apple. They steal all the phones, or
Right.
the
Right.
computers,
Rip them all out, yeah.
and somebody's filming it. And there's no security. There's nothing, and nobody does anything about it. So what I
It's weird. It outrages everybody at home, but the people there. I mean, I don't think you're allowed to do anything because if you do something, you can get sued.
for hurting the person who steals.
Or you get fired because the
Yeah.
corporation has expressly said you can't get
Don't do
involved if
anything,
you're an
yeah.
employee. Yeah, you know what you realize like really quickly is it is this really small percentage of people that are responsible for almost all the crime.
Right.
And if you think about it, nobody dabbles in it. You do it or you don't do it. And if you do it multiple times. You know, you don't steal one catalytic converter and you're done. Right. But conversely, you couldn't talk me into it. Like, all right, I'll steal one catalytic
nothing will
converter.
happen. Nothing will happen. You steal it.
But it's a small group of people, less than 1% of the population, that are doing 86% of the crime. So with that in mind, when you do catch them, you got to fucking keep them.
Right.
Because it's a super small group that's doing all of the terrorizing and all of the thievery.
Right.
And this notion of like, and now they just say, oh, the guy's been arrested 86 times and we're letting him out on bail or
Right.
non-bail. And it's like, how would this be how would we solve this problem if this is the way we're approaching it?
I mean, you know, this kid, for instance, he's out like the next day and he commits the same crime. What if he killed somebody?
Right. Well, one of the employees was assaulted.
Was assaulted,
Yeah.
right? And how do you let them out? I mean, where does it stop? So where does it stop?
Right, exactly.
And
That's the
so now you're going to change that whatever neighborhood that is, it changes, right? So the neighborhood changes. Now there's crimes happening. There's no consequences. So
Oh.
it changes the neighborhood. Now what do we do? What do we do?
We need
There's
to.
Queens.
Oh, now we got to play Crump, Benjamin Crump. What is that? Do we have that clip somewhere?
Yeah.
We talked about that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Ben Crump. Ben Crump. So, he's sitting around doing it. I do love these things. I do love when MSNBC or CNN does one of the retrospectives for Black History Month. Black men in America, 2024. And then they all sit around and fucking race hustle and bullshit and lie and nod, do a lot of head nodding. So this is attorney Benjamin Crump.
Right.
And then it's Al Sharpton, and then it's a couple other brothers. And they're hanging around shooting pool, and they're talking about how to fix the system.
Right.
And so here's Ben Crump's take on it.
We can get rid of all the crime in America overnight, just like that. And people ask how, Attorney Crump?
Raise your kids.
Change the definition
Oh.
of crime. Of course,
Oh, yeah.
if you get to define what conduct is going to be made criminal, you can predict who the criminal is going to be.
It sounds like we're criminal, though.
Yeah.
Our existence
No,
is
the culture.
criminal.
But
That's-
they made the laws. They make the law to criminalize our culture,
To fit us.
black culture. I mean, and so when I think of Eric Garner, I always think of stuff like that. Lucy cigarettes.
I did nothing. We sitting here the whole time. Mind our business.
Right. But comply with the cops. Comply with the cops.
Always.
That's what I would say. And stop you from getting choked out. But anyway, Ben Crump's got an idea. Just change the laws. Stop making stuff that black people do illegal, and then there won't be crime.
But yeah.
He also tries to make the argument that our laws in America are based on prosecuting black people. And it's not true. Our form of government was kind of borrowed from England.
Yeah.
There were zero
Well,
black people.
there's also, they tell you all this shit. Like they go, well, then how come black people on average, you know, young men get a longer sentence than white men who commit the same crime? And you go, well, that's something. I mean, that sounds like something. You have a white guy and a black guy, and they committed the same crime. Why does the black guy get a longer sentence if not the system, if the system isn't bias against the black guy. Well, black guys have a much longer rap sheet. And so it turns out the average black criminal has many more arrests than the average white criminal. And the judge factors in the multiple arrests into the sentencing.
Right.
And now you have your fucking answer, which CNN doesn't get into that part of it. They just get into the first part of it. But anyway, this is the approach. The approach is if black kids aren't performing well in math, then we need to figure out how to adjust the scoring system so that we'll get rid of fails and we'll get rid of D's and we'll get rid of anything under 50% in a math test, and then they will be mathematicians. And if too many black guys are getting locked up, then we will take crime and we will eliminate the definition of crime so that they can't be locked up. Now, what none of these pussy cowards ever tell you is when a dad is in the house and a dad raises a kid and disciplines a kid, the kid turns out not to be a criminal.
Bam.
But that's the answer that these fucking four geniuses and cowards will never bring up.
No, it starts in the home. As a parent, it starts in the home.
That's
you
right.
can you can lower all of the the qualifications, whether it's crime or education. We're just going to have a lot of dummies. We're just going to have a lot more dummies who have degrees, but they're dummies, and we're going to have a lot more criminals. And you know, it's all so crazy. Not unlike this, the CEO of United saying, listen, we're not going to hire the best pilots. We're going to lower, if we have to, we'll lower the qualifications of becoming an airline pilot so that there's more inclusion, right? So we're fair. We're being fair to the people who aren't getting the licenses to drive planes, which are probably, will I ever fly United again? I'll never fly United again. I mean,
I won't unless it's $8 cheaper.
Right, unless it's a little bit
to
cheaper.
Seattle,
But
and then
it's
I'll
that
fucking
whole,
cave.
it's that whole thing. It's like you know, it's what we go back to. You got to do the work, man. You got to do the work. The work starts at the home. You know, as a father, I have got to father my children, and if I father my children the right way, my kids are deathly afraid of doing drugs. Deathly afraid of stealing anything, deathly, because the consequences are me to them, right? And so my children do really well in school because A, they're intelligent, but B, because I'm on their ass all the time. I'm always on their ass because I care about them and they understand that, right? They're like dogs. You know, they have a job to do and they know you pat them on the head, they're doing well, they'll keep doing well, right? Yeah. And that's what it's all about the family. It's about the family. And all of my intelligent friends, black, white, green, yellow, Spanish, whatever the fuck they are, they know that. It's the home.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the most ridiculous, divisive bullshit that you could ever listen to.
Well,
they suck at pool.
On a good news in the racial front, we got Kamala Harris. And the reason I love Kamala Harris.
She should do mushrooms, by the way. And ayahuasca. Maybe stop drinking so much.
I love Kamala Harris because when Biden announced I'm going to only look at women of color for the vice presidential position, I, as the only person in Hollywood, went, that's a fucking horrible idea. And everyone else goes, what's wrong? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with it? I'll tell you what's wrong with it. You've shrunk your pool of competent people to next to nil. Like if you think about it, like you go, first, they got to be a Democrat. You go, all right, there goes half the pool. Then you go, they've got to be a woman. And it's not 50-50 women in politics. You know, it's probably 70-30. So you go, it's got to be a woman. You shrunk that thing down pretty dramatically. And then you went, and she's got to be a woman of color. And now you're down to 2%. That's your pool. So you're looking for the second most important job in the land, and you shrunk your pool down to nothing. Like, what the fuck? What do you think? You think a Ferrari ran their F1 team that way? I must have. First off, we're eliminating all guys. Yeah. We're eliminating all Italian guys.
We need a quadriplegic.
We need a quadriplegic. We need somebody in a wheelchair. We need a woman. She's got to be a woman of color. Like, okay, but you are eliminating a lot of people who could be good at this job of running your F1 team. You're eliminating. Oh, that's what I'm doing because I'm a fucking hero. All right, you fucking heroes did it, and you got Kamala Harris. Now you have a person who polls lower than the president. I didn't even know it was possible in the past to poll lower than the president, because normally the vice president kind of flies under the radar, and it's like, you may not like Obama and you may have issues with him, but they go Al Gore. You go, I don't know what he's up to. He seems nice, or whatever, whoever that guy is. I don't think Mike Pence ever polled lower than Donald Trump. You have someone who polls lower than Biden. Biden is senile. Biden is losing it by the day. When you look at clips of him from 3 years ago, his eyes are open. He seems lucid. Now one eye is closed and the other eye is half open. Can't understand what he's saying. And now you sanctimonious dipshits are stuck with Kamala Harris. You're fucking stuck with her, you fucking retards. You did it. I told you not to do it, but you did it. And now you have a vice president who's a female of color, but is more incompetent than the guy who's senile and polls worse than the guy who's senile. And now you fuckers are in a quandary. Because you go, normally just be next in line. It would be Al Gore would just slide up. If Obama left, then we'd all go, all right, now we're going with who's on the bench, who's on deck,
right?
Who's in the hole. You just slide right up to the batter's box. You can't do that because you guys made a decision not based on competence. You made it based on the color of her skin, which is racist, and her gender, and you fucked yourself. And now you have to do some sort of dance where you go around her somehow or you eliminate her. But can't you replace her with a white dude?
Absolutely.
Like, how's Gavin Newsom? He is a heterosexual white man. He's going to replace your woman of color, your precious woman of color. How are you going to negotiate that? How are you going to thread that needle? You can't. You're fucked, and fuck you, because I told you not to do it in the first place, and you went ahead and did it, and you all patted yourselves on the back, and no one ever stopped and went, does this bitch know what she's talking about? And he went, I said, we're hiring a black woman. She's got to be black. She's got to be a woman. Yeah, I know, but is she competent? And he went, I don't know. That's not what we're not doing that. We're doing this,
It's United Airlines.
Fine. Now we're flying a 737 into a volcano. Right. I hope everyone's satisfied. You're fucking idiots. Now they're stuck. They're stuck and they're fucked because he's not going to make it, and they're going to have to figure out what to do with her.
And as a guy who can't vote because I'm a felon, there, I said it.
From when you stole the Kit Kat bar?
No, a little after that. I can't vote. Like, I don't have a dog in the race, and I find it interesting what is happening, the names that are being circulated, and it's almost offensive.
What's your felony for?
Assault.
Huh?
Assault.
Assault. Oh.
It was a long time ago, man.
Was it? What gender was the person?
It was a male.
Okay. Well, that's a good start.
Yeah.
And,
a male.
They did something to you?
To a family member.
Oh. And that's it? You can't work it off like a DUI or something?
I may be able to. I just never really gave it
How
much
long's it been?
thought. Oh, my God. It's been 20-some-odd years.
You should do ayahuasca.
But it might as well have been yesterday because I could feel it on you.
You can feel it on me.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't vote, because I can't vote. So many people are going to know. I look at things a lot differently, man. I just do.
That's interesting.
I don't look at it from, blue or red. I really get to look at it as which person I think is the most, as you said, the word competent, is the most competent to get this country, back, I hate to say this, back on its feet or back in a place where I recognize it again.
That's interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
No, it's like when you travel, you go into a small town in Europe and you kind of walk around and you just observe.
Right.
You're not in the town. You're not a villager. And you can kind of go, oh, they got their shit together with this, but they need a little help in that because you're not in the village.
I'm not in the village, and I don't, and I get to listen to everybody's opinions and stuff, and I'm like, listen, my vote doesn't matter because I don't have one, right? So let me kind of look at this thing a little bit more objectively. And I've found interesting things about all these people, not Kamala Harris.
No. Well,
I have found interesting things. There's plenty of interesting things about Joe Biden. There's a shitload of interesting things about Donald Trump. And
And Robert F. Kennedy.
Who
Jr.
I watch and listen to all the time, and how they what they're trying to do to him.
I agree.
But there's nothing interesting about Kamala Harris. That's one person I do not want to be the president of the United States. I've listened to her speak on a number of occasions, and I was waiting for the words to come together and form a sentence or a paragraph,
a coherent thought,
and where she had a beginning, middle, and end. And maybe I'm getting senile. I can't find what she's talking about.
I have no idea what she's talking about.
She puts words together.
We've been to the border. I haven't been to the border. We've been to the border. I've not been to Prussia. What's that have to do with the border?
Euphemisms and analogies.
I don't know what she's talking about.
And metaphors, and I can't make heads or tails of what she's saying. And to me, and again, I don't have a horse in the race. She appears slightly inebriated, and coming from a guy who's grown up with a father who was a raging alcoholic, I don't think she is the one who should be running the country. So I think, that side is right in looking at Gavin Newsom's. I've heard Michelle, and I despise him. But I've heard Michelle Obama's name being mentioned, and I'm like, how are you ever going to get around that to go there? I mean, I don't know how that even works. How does that even,
Well, we're going to get some insights because Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Cheryl Hines are waiting in the on-deck circle.
I feel kind of cool that I was in the same day as Robert F. Kennedy.
Lights Out, by the way, Frank Grillo's
It's
movie.
Lights Out.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
On VOD and in theaters today. Frank, always great to see you.
My pleasure,
We
brother.
love your candor.